So what I do here, I enter KGDB, and the moment I do KGDB, it tells me to attach debugger or to use these sequences. It's not exactly recommended to switch between KDB and KGDB too much, especially not when you have breakpoints, because sometimes you may have problems like with the protocol, like with the serial, and you will not be able to resume execution. These are like one of like the common faults. But many times when you debug, you are not really willing to use execution, to resume execution. So this is what I did, and what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to open a debugger. So I opened GDB on VM Linux. I don't even need it, okay? And I'm going to do target remote DTY S0, and hopefully the protocol will work okay. So I had a typo, dev DTY S0. I need to be super user have permission, and it didn't work well. Look what I see like in the console, and It wasn't happy about the protocol. I'm going to give it another shot. Now it's waiting, it's pending. I see in the console what kind of things. Still doesn't work so amazing. Now I see that the terminal is closed, so I feel a little bit more optimistic about it. And look what I see here. I see here, hey, remote debugging using VFS RMDIR, which is exactly where I stopped. Okay? So let's have a look. Now I'm in GDB actually. And look what I see here, like sys RMDIR, which is the syscall that I had. Do RMDIR, VFS RMDIR, okay? Now, if I look like at the breakpoints, breakpoints, then it will show me no breakpoints or watch point. Now, the reason for it is simply that I didn't put such, right? So, I can go ahead and do all kind of things. I can say, all right, let's add another breakpoint on, let's say, do exec VE, just for fun, alright? So I put the breakpoint, and I'm going to do continue. I'm now debugging in a GDB, right? Remotely. So I continued. Here I'm on this guy, right? And I'm just going to do something like echo hello. But I'm just going to make sure that I do the bin echo or user bin echo. And I did echo hello. And here look what I have. I have this GDB recognizes a switch thread, okay? So it actually hits the breakpoint because it forked, and then it does like the do exec v, okay? And now I can see what caused it, and I can disassemble, and I can read the memory, and I can do all kind of things. Like actually, even if I didn't have like the debugger, I just need the two ends for 1 second. So I'll pause and then resume. So even if I didn't have the debugger, I could go ahead and do things like examine, and now I have the debugging symbol, so I know even though I'm on the host that it's like in do exec v. Otherwise I would see addresses, and then I could see on the target or obtain the system.map file and search for addresses. On modern kernel I will need to know what is the ASLR slide or disable ASLR if I want to work with it. If anybody has a question about it and is not in my class, because I always talk about these things, then send me an email or a comment or something like this, and I'll explain like how to get over the so-called wrong addresses. And you can also like disassemble, you can move frames, you can do all kind of things like that. Okay, I will delete this breakpoint. Yeah, and I will resume execution. And now execution is resumed, and Y still exists. I'm going to do RMDIR to Y before I add Y, and we can actually see that now things switched nicely. The previous breakpoints are gone, and not always things will be so nice. This is my terminal. I can go and start another KDB session. And like it's good practice to know like your symbols, so you can either look at system maps Or if I wanted, for example, to see what is the address of do exec VE, I could look at it at my targets proc kl sims. So even if I don't like have debugging information and things like that, I would still get along. So I can see that that's do exec VE. So I could go like to KGDB, and if I'm connected remotely, even if I did not have like the VM Linux file that I loaded, and put a breakpoint b*0x this address, and that's it. So with that, we completed the illustration of KDB and KGDB workflows. Of course, there is a lot more to say, but if you set this up when you do your target setup, then you're pretty good to go. If you use QEMU, there is a very nice thing that you don't really need KGDB at all, because you have a hardware debugger that you can connect to via GDB. So I can talk about it at some other time. It's easy. I use it a lot. I teach it a lot. I teach using it a lot, and that's it. All right, so we made it.